Ahead of this weekend's referendum in Italy suggest major constitutional reform likely won't pass.
It's 9:01.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM, good morning to you on your Friday. It's December 2nd, 2016. This is Community Conversations. Kale Wonder is in the studio with you. I have my co-host with me, Mrs. Kubila Harden, and I also have in the studio with us today Mr. Jerrod Lockhart. He is the president of the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and I have another special guest, me. That's right. I'm actually going to be doubling as guest and as co-host as we are going to be talking about the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter, because I am also a member of the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. The reason why we are doing this interview today is Alpha's Founders Day is December 4th, but that unfortunately does not fall on a weekday this year, so we are doing the interview today, and we're going to be talking about some of the things that we as the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated are doing for the community. So now I'm going to take off my host hat and put on my guest hat and turn it over to Kubila.
All right, well, good morning.
Even though I told her to sit in the host chair, but she didn't want to.
Yeah, I'm good over here. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
You fine man of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Of course.
We appreciate that.
So thank you all for coming in. And, well, LaGanzie didn't have a choice. Okay, so moving on. Let's get into some of the history of Alpha Phi Alpha. Where, when, how, as much as you can share. We know there's some things that have to be kept on the low, but as much as you can share about your history, please.
Sure. Good morning. I'm really grateful for the opportunity as we're preparing to celebrate a milestone in African American fraternal Greek lettered history. On December 4th, we'll be celebrating the Founders Day of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So we are elated for the opportunity to be here to talk about our wonderful fraternity. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was founded December 4th, 1906 on the campus of Cornell University, which is located in Ithaca, New York. Our history is vast and it's large, but it was 7 jewels that we bestowed the title of jewel, who found it essential to create a group for men of color to come together to fellowship, to educate, and to empower the community.
Okay, so I imagine, of course, during that time, there were, of course, fraternities of other races. Were blacks or African Americans or people of color not allowed to be a part of those fraternities at the time?
Well, basically, that was a principal part of why Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity was founded, because of, African Americans not being allowed to be a part of these organizations. And that's pretty much not just with Alpha Phi Alpha, but, with the D9, there was a need for African Americans to come together, in light of a time frame in which they were not allowed certain access to certain institutions, which affect others that need for them to come together and to organize to form these fraternities and sororities.
Because what you were finding is that you were finding men of color showing up on campuses that hadn't been there before. They were showing up at PWIs or predominantly white institutions. And so they didn't have a place of community. Oftentimes they were bus boys and servers in different fraternity homes or in the cafeterias on campus, and they would spot one and then they'll see another, but there was never a place where they really could come together.
Okay. And so when Alpha was started, let's talk about some of the aims that it was built on. I always want to say pillars, but I know that's not correct. I apologize.
Well, I told off there about the aims of the fraternity, which are manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind.
In which you'll find a number of the D9 organizations' aims are similar, but our focus is mainly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind.
Okay, well, let's go into some of those and talk about what you all actually do to help keep that the center focus of your organization?
Absolutely. I think probably what we do best to keep our aims as central focus of the fraternity is through our national programs and projects that we do as a national organization.
Okay.
So when you talk about manly deeds, there's a national program that's called Project Alpha.
Okay.
And what we do specifically in Project Alpha is that we spend a great deal of time educating young men about the importance of safe sex.
Okay.
The ultimate goal is abstinence. But at the
Amen.
same time, we understand that abstinence is not necessarily the only safe sex option that's out there. So we talk about STDs, prevention, awareness. We talk about all of those things. And I must admit, the way in which the curriculum is designed for us to be men.
Okay.
And so there's a real room for dialogue, conversation, feedback, for the participants to ask questions, and it's for us as brothers to be transparent with the young men and create a bond and a fellowship and a relationship with them.
Once again, this is Community Conversation on KLEK 102.5 FM. This is myself as LaGanzie Kale, and we also have Brother Jerrod Lockhart of the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We are talking about some of the things that the chapter are doing in the community.
Alrighty. So, how often do you host these Project Alpha events?
Well, we just had one not too long ago.
Right. We do several other national programs. We do Project Alpha is the one I just mentioned before. There's several other national programs that we do. Go to high school, go to college is another initiative
And that's really
that
important.
we do. We were really fortunate to partner with the Upward Bound program on the campus of Arkansas State University to present our Go to High School, Go to College program this past semester, or this last month actually, excuse me. And what that is, it's just an opportunity for us to talk to them about the importance of that transition from high school. What's the next step?
Okay.
College. Why is it important? And it's in that particular program is a 4-part series, and so we just began that series with them.
And I would have loved to have something like that for myself. When I was in high school, my thought was, because of some of the family issues that I was dealing with, my thought was to get out of high school and leave home. I knew I wanted to go to college, but I wasn't so focused on being successful in college. Oh yeah, I had these ideas and I wrote in my senior book, I want to do this, this, and this. Once I got to college, that went out the window.
Sure. And I think for a lot of individuals, myself included, you have to be able to look at somebody that's kind of been there, done that, or is currently doing it. And so that's why it's kind of the reaching back, pulling forward kind of mindset.
Okay.
And so as we're sitting across or sitting in a room or a conference room, auditorium, and we're having these dialogue and conversations with these high school students, middle school students about the importance of a college education. We're talking to them kind of in real time, real life perspective, not just what we see on TV. You know, for us, it was a different world that we saw on TV, you know, and for different groups, it was different things. But it's about really letting them see beyond the smoking glass, beyond what you see on TV, and seeing a little piece of reality and how to be successful in doing so. And really inspiring them and motivating them that they can do it.
Okay. And now with, I don't know how I should bring this up.
Well, just ask.
Okay, well now with and I hate to use this word ratchet, with so much unreal, real TV, and all these various programs, you know, young people see a different view of what they think the world is like. How do you, as men of Alpha, try to rein their thoughts back in? And you don't have to.
I think the focus on that is, I think you have to remind them, and this is just with anything in life, that what you see on TV is for entertainment. That you know, it's to make you laugh, but you know, the real world doesn't function that way. And if you don't believe me, then try to get a job and act like that on the job and see how long that you last.
Right. One of the things I say about reality TV is more entertainment mixed with a little bit of reality. and that's I think the thing that's really important, and this is for any community leader, any mentor, is to try to meet whoever you're working with, meet them right where they are.
Okay.
So find the things that they're enjoying, what's drawing them, and then in your own way try to help combat that. Kind of say, well, I can see where maybe you can get that, but really this is kind of what it looks like.
Okay.
And then connect them to other pieces so they can really see it from a real-time perspective.
Once again, this is Community Conversations with myself, Brother LaGanzie Kale, also with Brother Jerrod Lockhart of the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We are doing our Founders Day interview, doing it a little early because our Founders Day is December 4th, and we won't have a show on December 4th, so we're doing it today. So I just want to kind of back up a little bit. Jerrod earlier mentioned the the fraternity history. He did mention that the fraternity was started by our 7 jewels, which I want to name them: Jewel Henry Arthur Callis, Jewel Charles Henry Chapman, Jewel Eugene Kinkle Jones, Jewel George Biddle Kelly, Jewel Nathaniel Allison Murray, Jewel Robert Harold Ogle, and Jewel Vertner Woodson Tandy. And the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated actually was started January 1st of 1977. It originally started in Blytheville, Arkansas, serving that area. The chapter eventually morphed to end up becoming a more regional chapter, which now covers Blytheville, Osceola, West Memphis, Marion, Jonesboro, and all of the areas kind of filling in. So the chapter is actually open to alumni brothers that are in all of those cities.
Okay. And so I want to ask a question. I don't know if you can. Why were these men considered jewels, or where did that term come from, or how was it adopted?
That's a great question. Our fraternal history, as I mentioned to you, it's vast and it's large. And so instead of just calling them founders, jewels mean something special.
Okay.
They're unique. They did something in the genesis, in the beginning part of our fraternity's history to be bestowed that title of a jewel. Okay. So they may not have been one of the first ones to come along, but in that beginning history of our fraternity, they did those things to make that lasting impact, created our shingle, created our shield.
One of our jewels, George Biddle Kelly, came up with the name Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated as an example.
Right. Fraternity name, fraternity color. So all of these men that are our jewels provided something prominent and standing within our fraternity that allowed us to be recognized as who we are today.
Okay, so they each played an integral part.
Absolutely.
In making Alpha what it is, what it was back then, and what it is
and what
now.
it is today. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I of course want to ask this before we get too far. What made you all decide to join Alpha?
Okay.
I yield to the senior brother first.
Okay, well, basically, growing up in Helena, I didn't really know a lot about Greek life. I was a nerd that was off to myself, I'll be honest with you. But there was a brother who is now in Omega chapter. And by the way, the Omega chapter is actually the chapter that is designated for brothers who have deceased and who have gone on to a better place. Well, at the time, this brother's name was Willis C. Williams. He was the long-term superintendent of schools for the Helena West Helena School District, and basically he kind of took a liking to myself and some other young men that he thought that had the potential to go far. The district holds a second. Had to clear my throat a little bit. I didn't want to burp on there, so I had to turn the mic off. So Mr. Williams basically took me and a few other students under his wing, mentored us, look out after us. And when we were getting ready to graduate from Central High School in Helena, West Helena, and one day he pulled us to the side and he kind of pulled out his little alpha pen and said, "Now when you all get to college, this is the fraternity that I want you to join." And again, I didn't know anything about Greek life. I just, being the person I am, I said, "Yes, sir." Okay. And but Mr. Williams actually took it one step further. He actually called up his contacts in the chapter up here, which is the Theta Upsilon chapter, and he said, "Brothers, there's a young man. His name's LaGanzie Kale. He's very bright. I think you all should, reach out to him. Maybe he'll have an interest in joining." So when I got on campus, the brothers actually found me and said, "Hey, we just want to introduce ourselves. Let us know if you need anything, and we'll be happy to assist you." And that left a good impression on me. These guys said, "Hey, you need anything?" And so that was the first thing I noticed. Then a few days later, I went to Best Steppers on the Yard. Okay. And the Alphas won, and it wasn't even close. I'm sorry for the other frats out there. It wasn't even close.
Always.
They won. I said, okay. Now, I can't dance. I can't step. I never did a step show in my life other than my probate. But I actually was impressed by that. And then what's really sealed it for me is, coming up in Helena in high school, I was a DJ. And I remember I went to their homecoming party at the Alpha Stru, and the guy that was DJing the party said, "Hey, I was talking with him, and he said, I said, I'm a DJ too. I'm hoping to eventually get established up here." And he said, "Man, you ought to go, talk to the brothers. I'm getting ready to graduate. They're gonna need somebody to take over after I get out of here." And so, I had approached one of the members, and I said, I talked to y'all DJ, and I'm a DJ, and I'd like the opportunity to DJ for you guys one day. And they said, well, okay, we'll get back with you. And so they had their chapter meeting, and they called me. They had asked me just to talk a little bit about what I could do, what services I could provide for them. Now, keep in mind, I did like one little small gig for one of the predominantly white fraternities. It was a private function, so I'd never actually DJ'd a party at Arkansas State. And they called me back and they said, "How would you like to DJ all of Alpha Week?" Okay. That blew my mind because, wow, these guys are actually trusting me with their entire week, because I could have sucked and I could have ruined the entire Alpha Week. But Alpha Week was a success. Everybody liked the job that I did, and that, like I said, them taking that leap of faith on me, and plus the way that they embraced me and the way that they feel welcome. And I like what they stood for. I like the way that they carried themselves on campus. I like that they were studious. Like they said, we party hard, we stay up late, but most of all, we graduate with scholars making dollars. But it's a chant, but it's actually much deeper than that. Okay. And it just aligned with who I am as a person, and so the decision was easy for me. Okay.
Mr. Jerrod?
Yeah, my perspective was a little bit different. I grew up in Central Arkansas, and so I had seen fraternity life, sorority life, all just throughout the city, and had cousins who had gone on before me that had gone on to college and had pledged different fraternities and sororities. And so when I came to college, I still was kind of like LaGanzie, a little oblivious kind of to what they were fully about or what was going on. I just saw kind of a bunch of hopping and dancing, and I was like, what's really going on? And so I ended up working in my first work-study job on campus. I worked for Dr. Harmon Strickland. Okay.
Oh, who was my advisor? And when Brother Lockhart gets finished, I got to tell you a story about Dr. Strickland.
And Dr. Strickland actually, at that time, was serving as the chapter advisor for the Theta Upsilon chapter, which is the undergraduate chapter in this area. And Dr. Strickland just impressed me. Okay. Just impressed me. Was kind, was concerned about how I was doing, how I was going to navigate through school. So I was more than just an employee. I was somebody that he was concerned about. And then that introduced me to Mr. Victor Hill, and I don't know anybody that's ever touched 8th State that does not know Mr. Victor Hill and financial aid and scholarships.
Okay. Exactly.
And he was another one that just impressed upon me. So those men, probably those two, were kind of my first gateway into Alpha Phi Alpha, and then I began to observe the undergraduate chapter and looked at those young men and looked at all of their amazing strides they were making on the campus of Arkansas State. And so I did not go through membership as an undergraduate student. I finished my degree at Arkansas State, and I always felt like there was a little unfinished business for me, and so there was an opportunity for me to become a part of one of the best alumni chapters in the state. And so I took that opportunity and have been soaring ever since. And so I believe that joining the fraternity was in fact one of the best decisions that I've made.
And I certainly would agree with that. Speaking with Brother Jerrod Lockhart and myself, Brother LaGanzie, Kale of the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Phone lines are open at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. We do have a Facebook shout out from Amanda Donovan. Haven't heard from you in a while, Amanda. She says, keep up the good work. I was in upward bound. I still think back on those days. Without that, who knows where I would be. So that's kind of an example of how one of our programs helps people. Bringing it back to Dr. Strickland, who actually we talked about a few weeks back in the interview when we talked about the circle. Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Strickland, like Brother Lockhart said, was the undergraduate advisor. And there had been a time during my undergraduate career where I had kind of fallen into a funk. My grades had slipped. I was going through some personal issues. I was changing my major a lot, and I couldn't really make up my mind what I wanted to do. And Dr. Strickland, one day, pulled me into his office, and he said, Brother Kale, you've been in school too long. we're getting you out of here. I've already changed your major to general studies because you got all these hours in all these different areas. I'm gonna be your advisor, and you're gonna graduate.
All right.
And I didn't have any say in the matter. He had already done it. He pretty much told me what my major was gonna be and what I was doing. But but that's just a testament to the type of man and the type of alpha brother that he was. That he was looking after his chapter members. He wanted to make sure that, like I said, most of all, we graduate. So without that from Dr. Strickland, who knows? I may have never finished. I may have never graduated. So, absolutely. Dr. Strickland, if you are listening, I certainly am grateful and appreciative. Also to Brother Hill, because like I said, who hasn't gotten help from Brother Hill? We're going to go ahead and leave it there because we're getting ready to go to break. Once again, this is Brother LaGanzie, Kale, along with Brother Jerrod Lockhart of the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We are streaming live on Facebook. Post your questions and your comments. You can also give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, the phone number is 870-277-1080. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about some of the upcoming community service projects we got going on. You can check us out tomorrow at Harps. We will be out there all day long, ringing the bell for the Salvation Army. Come holler at us. I'll be out there at 11 o'clock a.m. so you can come say hello to myself as long as all of the other brothers. We'll be back in Community Conversations. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to stop, drop, and roll this summer? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. We only have so many summers to make memories with our kids before they leave the nest. So with school out, give your kids your best. First, stop being connected 24/7 to work. Give yourself permission to be disconnected from work so you can be reconnected with your kids. Second, drop the phones, tablets, and other tech that keep you from your family. Set daily times, especially when you're on vacation, when you'll be tech-free. Finally, roll with the punches. Our summer plans rarely go off without a hitch, so be flexible and be available for your kids. For more tips, visit my blog at markmerrill.com. Remember, your family first.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook.
From the KLEK Community Calendar, A-State Care presents After School Tutoring in the Community. Available Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 o'clock p.m. until 5 o'clock p.m. through December 6, 2016. Subjects that will be taught will be language arts, writing, reading comprehension, mathematics, science, geography, social studies, and history. The address is 911 Magnolia Road in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Did you know KLEK has a brand new streaming app? That's right, you can listen to KLEK 102.5 FM anywhere in the world. The app is available for all Android phones and tablets, as well as iPhones and iPads. Just search your app store for KLEK and download the KLEK app for free today, and don't miss a beat of the education, entertainment, and empowerment on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I am your host, co-host, whatever you want to call me today, Quabila Hart, along with Mr. or brother Jerrod Lockhart, and of course the illustrious Cato Wonder.
I'm Brother LaGanzie Kale today.
He's playing Brother LaGanzie Kale today.
No, I'm not playing. I am.
I hope he's not playing.
Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Of the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
And see, I would have just totally blundered all those words up. So today we're talking with these gentlemen. They are members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. They're telling us all about their fraternity, their history, and some of the programs that they're part that the chapters of fraternity host and just all things Alpha. So let's get back into our conversation. In the first part, we talked about the history, some of the national programs, why they decided to join the fraternity, but we're going to get it more into the national programs that they sponsor, they participate in, because there are some really great ones.
Absolutely. There are 4 national programs in which each fraternity or each chapter, executes annually. Our 4 national programs include My Brother's Keeper, A Voteless People is a Hopeless People, Go to High School, Go to College. We discussed that a little bit early in the program, and Project Alpha. Those are our 4 national programs.
Okay, so we've already discussed Project Alpha, which is a program for young men to talk about abstinence in safe sex and, prevention, STD prevention, things of that nature. Even though we would love to see 100% abstinence, we know we live in the real world. So you all try to teach them other ways to be safe and not become another statistic.
Absolutely.
Especially become a father before they're ready.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay, and we talked about what else did we talk about?
We talked about Go to High School, Go to College.
Go to high school, go to college.
So let's go ahead and transition into A Voteless People is a Hopeless People. If you listen to any of the political interviews that we did here on Community Conversations, you may have heard me always say a voteless people is a hopeless people. Where Alpha Phi Alpha is where that actually came from, and that is one of our national programs, and it sort of speaks for itself. We believe a voteless people is a hopeless people, and one stat that I will mention that kind of illustrates that: in the presidential election, 46% of people did not vote. I believe, I don't have the exact numbers, but it was pretty even between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, about 24-25% each, and then a little small percentage for the third party, but 46% did not vote. If that 46% had voted, then the outcome may have still been the same. Donald Trump may have still became president-elect, or it may have swung the other way. Hillary Clinton may have actually won the election. But that is a sobering statistic, and that's why we have this national program, because we try to stress the importance of voting. In fact, I'm going to go pull up our Instagram, because there's actually a graphic that we have on our fraternity, and it says every voter, every election, first of all, we vote. So Voteless People is a Hopeless People is our initiative, where we try to get people registered to vote. That's first. We got to get them registered to vote, and then we have to get them educated on the issues.
Absolutely. That was going to be my next comment. It's about education as well, because what we discover is that we get a lot of publicity around the time when there's a national election, i.e. the presidential election. But sometimes we have to encourage our folks to remember local elections as well.
That's right.
So we talk about mayoral races, we talk about city council races, we talk about school board races. And I know that those things may sound trivial, but they're just as important, because those are the things that affect you every day, around the corner, up the street, your children. And so we talk about the importance of getting out there, voting, asking those questions, writing your legislators to question policies, rules, standards. And so that's a lot of what Voteless People is a Hopeless People has transitioned to become.
Well, and again, bringing it back to numbers, like for example, in this recent general election, I believe there ended up being like 16,000 people that voted, and then we had a runoff for the city council, and I'm looking on Cade Holliday's page. Don't look like he actually posted the final number, but basically I'm looking at some early numbers that he posted. This is for the city council runoff. It was like 1645, and I think that was just the early vote. So we're just gonna round up and say maybe 1,800 to 2,000 people. Huge drop off. That basically decided who was going to fill that council seat, and so that's why this program is so important, because, of issues with low turnout.
And it's more specific for us when we address the African American community, when we talk about rights that were bestowed upon us, things that were fought for, things that were earned for us through the death of others. And for us to minimize that power that we have by going to the polls. And some of us are not even registered to vote. I know some children who are registered to vote and their parents aren't. So it's about really educating them and understanding that their voice matters. And where does it matter most? Not around the kitchen table, not around the water cooler, but at the polls.
And I think this year, I know this year I became way more involved, and I want to thank, KLEK for helping to open my mind to, okay, there's more to this political thing than just the president. Like, I was able to have a sit down face to face with a lot of candidates that were running for the various city and county offices. And I would say that I am more blessed, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. I even got to talk to some people that were running for state offices.
Sure.
And these people that are on the state level still, they influence what happens on the national level.
Absolutely.
So we have to know what's going on locally before we can even think about what's going on nationally.
And I just want to bring up a famous alpha that worked very hard to ensure that we have the rights that we enjoy now, which unfortunately are slowly being eroded away. But that's Brother Thurgood Marshall, the first African American to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Wow, that is really wonderful. So I hope that as people decide, okay, I want to become an alpha or part of any fraternity.
And of course, we all know about the most famous alpha of all time, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
I mean, okay, let's go there. I was going to say something else, but let's go there. When you were talking about the right to vote, the incidents that happened in Selma was just the beginning. I'm sure there were times before that people fought and protested and whatever for their right to vote. But those incidents surrounding Selma during that time, I'm sorry, I don't have a year, that alone should help solidify to people why it's important.
Right.
If they've even watched the movie or if they've seen any of the raw video footage or just read stories, that alone should say, okay, I need to do something outside of myself.
That goes back to the basic conversation of civil liberties and civil rights. There are rights that we have as American citizens, and for that to not be valued and appreciated within our own community is very disheartening.
Yes.
And knowing your history is critical. And that's why I encourage so many of our Divine Nine organizations that let's continue to work together as we've done in the past to help our communities become aware. There's a notion that's out there that's called the talented 10th.
Okay.
And this notion basically talks about how within our culture, within the African American community, there's going to be roughly about 10% of us who kind of reach that threshold of the talented 10th. We've been able to go to college. We've been able to get in some area of the world where we've been able to thrive, grow, learn. And it's our job to then go back and reach and grab and pull forward others and educate others. That's why when we graduate, we need to go back home to our communities and to encourage and to empower. That's why we mentor. That's why we engage. That's why we connect. And so we as members of Greek letter organizations, and I know specifically we're talking about my dynamic fraternity Alpha Phi Alpha today, but to all my D9 groups, let's continue to remember that we have a job to do, and it's more than just wearing letters across our chest. It's about going back and reaching back and pulling. These letters in many ways provide us a level of influence and get us in some doors, but it's about the voice that we have once we get in the door. What platform are we taking once we get center stage? It's more than a hop, it's more than a line dance, and that is fun, and I enjoy that all, but it's also about making a difference and empowering and educating others.
All right, amen. I feel like passing a collection plate.
Well, God bless you, sister. I take an offering. Had to buy a battery this morning.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna rein it back in because we could talk about this all day long, but don't want to run out of time. And for those of you out there listening and watching, we are talking with Brother Jerrod Lockhart and Brother LaGanzie Kale, better known as Kale Wonder here at the KLEK, and they are men from the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, specifically the Mu
Omicron
Lambda graduate chapter here in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
And we also want to shout out the undergraduate chapter, the Theta Upsilon chapter on the campus of Arkansas State University.
That chapter was founded May 19th, 1973 by 10 courageous men known as the Tenacious 10.
Tenacious 10.
And Brother Lockhart is actually the chapter advisor for the Theta Upsilon chapter, and he is also the chapter president of the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter.
Okay, so when do you sleep and eat?
Oh, well, you need to ask my wife that. Between that, working full-time in school, have a 2-year-old, my life stays pretty busy. But I definitely did not want to leave off one of our last national programs. I know we had talked about this during the break. one of our another one of our national programs that we have not addressed is called My Brother's Keeper, and this particular national program is very special to brothers within the southwestern region of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, because this national program was birthed out of our region, and our region includes Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Texas. And so this national program was birthed out of this region, and so it's very dear to us. And it came at a time where we were seeing a lot of our seasoned brothers retiring. Many of them, maybe due to health reasons, were homebound. And then not only were they either homebound, some of them were passing away. And so we wanted to create a national initiative that would still recognize those brothers. So whether that's a brother in our community that needs some help around their home, we take that on as an initiative and we go help them at their home. Whether that's with yard work, or whether that's taking them to a doctor's appointment, or driving them to the polls to vote, or picking them up for a chapter meeting. Also, what's so special about this program is even if the brother has passed away or has moved on to our Omega chapter, as we discussed earlier what that means for us, any brother of Alpha that's deceased has moved on to the eternal Omega chapter. They're widows. We still acknowledge them because wives of Alpha men are very special. And we want them to always know that you'll be connected to Alpha Phi Alpha. And so whether that's they need help around their home, they need to be driven somewhere, we take that on. And that's what My Brother's Keeper is about.
That is really wonderful. So you all are doing some wonderful things in the community. So we talked about you all doing the Salvation Army bell ringing, which is coming up this Saturday.
It's going to be all day tomorrow at Harp's Grocery. So if you're just out and about tomorrow, just come see any of the Brothers of the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter. We'll be there all day long up until 6 o'clock p.m.
Right, we start tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And this particular project is special to us on a local level. We've talked quite a bit today in our program about Dr. Herman Strickland. Dr. Strickland serves on the Community Board of Advisors for the Salvation Army. And so Celebrity Bell Ringers is a program that Salvation Army has done for years, and Dr. Strickland has ensured that Alpha has always had a place and a voice at that event. And so we usually are at Kmart, but we saw pretty much know in our community that our Kmart is closing. It's closing. So they moved us to Harp's Grocery Store. So please don't walk past us tomorrow when you're coming in. Take that extra change or take those few dollars out of your wallet and make a difference, and make a difference in someone's life by making a small donation.
And I'm sure they will appreciate some hot cocoa and stuff too.
Oh, that would be nice.
Oh, yes.
It's a little cold out there.
Yeah, especially at 11 o'clock when I'm out there. I'm just going to be honest.
But don't forget, brothers are out there all day, starting at 9 o'clock with Brother Ricky Greer, who's a principal at Jonesboro Method and Science. And then we have brothers from all over the community that'll be out.
And we actually have two chapter brothers that are in the Jonesboro Public School. We have Brother Jeff Flanagan, who is I believe he's the STEM principal at Jonesboro High School. So, we have Alpha men throughout the community in different walks of life. That's one of the things that I definitely enjoyed about Alpha, that have such a diverse background. Like, I just thinking with the guys that I joined with, we had like a guy that was in the military. I had a football player. I had someone that was in band. I had someone who was a musician at church. I had someone who wanted to get into acting. It's such a broad number of spectrum in which Alpha men have went into. In fact, when we get off the air, I'm actually going to play at least one song, and if we have enough time, we may do two songs. But if you listen to KLEK, then you probably have heard the voices of at least two Alphas, which is 3 of the 4 members of the group Shy Alpha. That's If I Ever Fall in Love, and Lionel Richie. Don't sleep on us. So those are 2 Alphas that you probably hear every day here on KLEK.
All right, you're tuned in to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We're speaking with Brother Jerrod Lockhart and Brother LaGanzie Kale, better known as Kato Wonder here at KLEK. So we talked about your national programs, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys more in the community. And I know sometimes it can be a struggle when you have a smaller group, and then you have people who are not physically or just able to be as active, and so you have to limit yourself to some things. But what are some other projects outside the bell ringing. I'm sorry. Let's backtrack. Let's talk about the recent fundraiser you all just had.
I was just going to bring it up as an answer to your question. We recently had our turkey leg and turkey fundraiser, and that goes toward our ACT scholarship program. And what that does is it raises money so that we can help young men in high school that may not can afford to take the ACT. I think ACT does have some kind of program where I think you can, if you make the income requirements, take it at least once. But sometimes, you have students who may need to take it more than once, or they may not qualify for ACT specific program, and that's where we will step in and we will pay the cost for those students to take the ACT. And not only that, we also try to encourage these young men to take the ACT as early as possible. Don't wait till your senior year to take it. Go ahead and start taking it. Right. Really as soon as ninth grade. That way, if you take it in ninth grade and you bomb it, it's not the end of the world. At least you've been exposed to it. You can do some ACT prep. You can get with your teachers, your counselors, and try to get that score up. So as it gets closer to the time for you to where it counts, then your score is much higher. And so that's what the fundraiser does, and it was very successful.
It was successful. We want to say thank you to the Northeast Arkansas community. You guys showed up in a great way for us, and so we're going to be able to make a tremendous impact, not only in our ACT scholarships that we do annually, but also there's an initiative within the fraternity that's a leadership institute. Okay. And so we're looking to identify a couple of young men that we want to help support them attending this regional leadership institute so they can come back and make an impact in their community. Other things that you can find Alpha Men doing in the community, not only was a Celebrity Bell Ringers event, we also, one of our national partners is the March of Dimes. And so we work with them annually with the March for Babies event, but we also work with them with other initiatives as well.
Okay.
Hey, Miss Farrell.
Good morning. How you doing? I'm going outside and get ready to talk to you.
Okay.
I am very proud of Dr. Lockhart, and I want to say brother to Mr. LaGanzie Kale. Brother Lockhart, I think you remember me. I'm not sure. We've met before.
Sure, yeah. Absolutely.
Well, we all talking about the fraternities and college. I never went to college, but the opportunity was there. Parents really wanted me to go, but I had other plans. And I've done well in life. And my son and my daughter both have gone to college, but neither one of them have completed their education yet, but they've done well too.
Absolutely.
But we are supporting and encouraging my grandchildren to do that. It's almost today a must. When I was coming along and going to school, it was a choice. You could go and do great, and you could not, and they should do okay. But today, the world has changed so much, and everything is so technical. If you can go, I encourage people to go, and I just wanted you to know that I'm proud of both of you.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, we certainly appreciate all the love, Mrs. Farrell.
You have a great day. Thanks for calling. We appreciate that. Thank you. And I think that she's right. Times have changed so much. And so the value of a college education looks so different now than in the past. And it's such a needed piece. We understand that college education doesn't necessarily define success, but it's certainly a way to gain success. And so we do encourage it.
And one thing I'm learning in my adult life is when you don't have a degree behind your name, it's hard to get into some doors, especially if it's outside of the work. I'm so sorry. Especially if it's outside of working retail or industrial. If you want to work in a professional setting, you need to have some type of degree or certification behind your name.
Absolutely.
So you're tuned into KLEK 102.5 FM Community Conversations with Brother Jerrod Lockhart and Brother LaGanzie Kale. We're going to get ready to take a quick break here, but I do want to ask one question.
Sure.
There's comedian on YouTube, and I think his name is Duck. He does these videos making fun of the different fraternities and sororities because he's a frat. And the alphas are portrayed as nerds. So is that, I know that, YouTube.
I'm proud of it.
Look,
hold up.
I don't mind a class. I don't mind going to school. So you probably can call me a nerd too.
I'm going to go to break with this. We party hard. We stay up late. But most of all, we graduate. Because we scholars making dollars. I'm not going to say the rest of it because it's not radio friendly. We'll be back with Community Conversations. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. Regardless of the reason you apply for credit, the last thing you want is for your application to be rejected. Creditors don't like to see that a person is utilizing all of their available credit, as this can signal that they are living on credit, and opening a new line will only increase current indebtedness. What to do? Pay down credit card debt to equal no more than 30% of available credit. Credit utilization is the second highest weighted element of the scoring model, so lowering debt could also benefit your credit score. Your overall debt is too high. A person's debt to income ratio is a reflection of how much is owed relative to their income. People have expenses beyond credit cards, thus lenders take all existing obligations into consideration. What to do? You can either increase your income or decrease your debt. The important thing is to not appear that you owe more money to lenders and credit card companies than you can responsibly manage. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Support for KLEK is brought to you by
Tax Time is here at Car Today, the original buy here, pay here dealer. New Car Today General Manager Sean Corns.
With new inventory available daily, whatever you're looking for, we've got it.
Located on Stadium Boulevard just south of the 63 bypass, Tax Time is the time to drive at Car Today. Car Today.
Experience the joy with Bishop Adrian R. Rogers of Fullness of Joy Church, 3307 Ray Street, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401.
Do you like the music you hear on KLEK 102.5 FM? Do you like the educational programming that we provide? Do you like the service we provide to the community? Do you like having a station to finally call your own that represents you? If so, please stop by or call any of our underwriters or sponsors that you hear on KLEK and tell them thank you for their support. The support of our underwriters and sponsors is vital for us to stay on the air, so be sure to let them know that you thank them for their support.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK. I'm your co-host today, Kobe Lockhart, along with Brother LaGanzie, Kale, and Brother Jerrod Lockhart had to leave us, and we really thank him for coming and sharing his knowledge and experience with Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity and the Mu Omicron Lambda graduate chapter. Okay, so Mr. Kale, Brother LaGanzie.
Yes, and before you get into it, let me do this quick Facebook shout out to Brother Adrian Everett, and he said Brother LaGanzie thought he was back in his undergrad days. LOL. Well, thank you, Brother Everett. But she asked, about being being nerds, but like I said, but yeah, we some of us do have that reputation for being studious, but all of the D9 Greeks, take academics seriously. I mean, we were founded, as a means for African American students to come together to study, so that we could, lift each other up scholastically and make good grades. But anyway,
alrighty,
get back to your question.
All right, so we're going to switch gears here just a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of the intake process requirements, and maybe what you all have coming up as far as informational meetings and things of that nature.
Okay, well, for the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter, you have to graduate from an accredited institution, so that means you have to have a college degree. You can just contact any brother about any future intake. We haven't made the final decision yet to do something this spring, and if so, we will get the information out there. For the interest of disclosure, the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is a sponsor of KLEK, so I believe that information will be made available once all the official documentation and everything. All the I's are crossed, T's dotted, and I think I just got those backwards. But but we will be on the lookout for that. But one thing I would say to anyone that is interested in becoming a member of the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter, or just interested in Greek life, period, do some community service. I mean, that's one thing that all the organizations hold near and dear. Don't just join the organization because you want to wear some letters or you want to turn up. You know, all of the D9 organizations are looking for people that want to serve. So don't wait until it's actually time to become a member to start serving. Start serving now, because that will actually increase your chances of getting into one of these organizations when you can demonstrate, hey, I've got a record of service. I helped this organization. I helped that organization. There are nonprofits, there are organizations all throughout the city that need help. So don't wait. Start now to serve, because once you get in, you know, service is going to be a big part of it. There's a huge component to it. It's as mentioned from the programs that we do, the national program as well as the local level service is a big part of it. So that's just a bit of advice for me for anyone that is interested in becoming a member of not only the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter, or if you have designs on one of the other organizations. Well, you know, I'm not going to sit here and hate on any of the others, you know, because all of the D9 does good things. So if you want to join one, get out in the community and serve. But again, as far as Alpha Phi Alpha, just be on the lookout and we will provide that information to you.
And I want to say this: don't do community service just because it's a requirement. Everyone should be willing to do community service because it's just the right thing to do. Like LaGanzie said, there are so many organizations, non-profit organizations, that need your help.
So just KLEK.
So just KLEK. So consider getting out there and putting your work out there, helping someone do something outside of yourself. You don't know how much it can enrich your own personal life to help someone else. So just want to throw that out there. Okay, so what are some other let's talk about some myths and we talked about this with the Omegas. I want to go into this with the Alphas.
We only got 3 minutes, so we have to be quick with it.
Well, help to dispel some of the myths that people have about fraternity life, or Alphas in particular.
Okay. Well, what myths are we talking about?
Well, I don't know. Like, are there things that you've heard along the way, or things that people try to say that you are, that you're not?
Well, I mean, I think, like I said, a big one is, you know, that Alphas were just nerds and stuff. And actually, when I was in school, yeah, there were some like me that were more on the studious side, but we had some Alphas that, you know, could turn up. Okay. But I think, you know, it's the same with any of the organizations. I think that some people think it's just all about partying and about life, and you know, but it's more than that. It's actually, you know, very serious. You know, we take our fraternity very serious, just like any member of any of the D9 fraternities or sororities take it very seriously. So I would just say the biggest myth is that that people think is about party. I guess one that mentioned it, some have actually compared D9 fraternities and sororities to gangs. Now that is just simply not true. We are not gangs. We don't have a gang mentality. Yes, there is a brotherhood. We are close, or in the case of the sororities, there is a sisterhood that is very close. But you know, we're here to lift each other up and to lift up the community. We're not here to tear each other down. Now, unfortunately, they say, like this, the old saying goes, in every organization you've got some bad apples that could potentially spoil it for the whole bunch. But if you ask any member of any organization, they'll tell you that it's not like that. So I think that'd probably be a big one, that D9 members are gangs. We are. That's just the furthest from the truth, and probably about the best way I can say it in a radio friendly way.
Alrighty, well, I can't thank you all enough for providing this information today. I'm sure the listeners and viewers out there truly appreciated what you had to say, and I hope they took something away from the interview, and I hope it inspires someone out there who's considering going to college, joining a sorority fraternity, to start doing more for their community, just because it's the right thing to do.
And don't forget, we will be at the Harp's grocery store all day tomorrow, ringing the bell for the Salvation Army. So we're going to be out in the community, so come by and see us. We'll be there starting at 9 o'clock a.m. all the way up until 6 o'clock p.m. ringing the bell. Be sure to put some money in the little bucket be sure to bring us something warm to drink, some hot cocoa or some coffee or something to keep us warm while we're out there. Thank you for having me.
Don't forget about the Jonesboro, the volunteer gala tonight.
Volunteer gala is tonight, 6 o'clock p.m. We got tickets available at KLEK. We're going to go ahead and leave you with some music by, like I said, I don't know how much time we get both songs in, but we're going to kick it off with some Shy, which 3 of the 4 members of Shy are alphas. And then if we have a little extra time, we'll get in another brother Lionel Richie. You guys have a great and blessed day. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening.